I'm gonna make him an offer he can't.
¿Por qué? Este tío es un campeón.
¿Por qué? Porque puedo.
You know how we kind of also, and this isn't like anything that's true or false, but you know how we spoke about how the Bible has so much information that helps us in the real world.
Yeah.
Well, that helps us in this physical world that we live in now.
Yeah.
And it's so impactful. The Bible is so impactful because throughout generations and throughout different cultures, it makes the reader relate to these stories and help them out in their day-to-day.
Yeah.
Would it be unfair to kind of use the world we live in now? Because it all comes down to interpretation, right? I feel like it comes down to interpretation.
So there's a verse that says there's no private interpretation to prophecy. And so it's like there are layers to the word, but technically what God wants us to know is already there. So it's just us to study it, to see the message God wants. But that doesn't mean we can add our own personal, like, well, this is the way I see it. And this is the way, like, you know. Because some people twist, like, they take one or two verses, they twist it, and then you have all these other, like you've heard, right, like there's different groups of Christians and stuff. And a lot of those are just because they take one or two verses, and they give their own interpretation, and now you have this completely different thing and stuff.
Right. But also, you know how there's a lot of, like, sayings and things like this, and like taking the Bible out of this, there could be me and you could listen to the same song, could watch the same movie, and we could get different things out of it.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
Right? And it all comes down to none of us were there in the creation of the Bible, right? And I feel like that's why there's so many different, how would I say? There's so many, like, different type of Christians.
There's denominations.
Different, there's all these different type of denominations who are a little different.
Yeah.
Because they interpret things a little different, right?
Yeah.
And just how the Bible is here to like help us in our day to day. Like, would it be wrong to use our day to day to help us interpret the Bible now?
I mean, to some extent, like, I agree, like, okay, like, you know, we have to see what we're experiencing to kind of find it there.
Right, because the reason why the Bible is so powerful, like I mentioned, is because it transcends culture and time.
Yeah.
And it makes everyone relate to it, right?
Yeah, because it's the truth and stuff.
But we could also agree that the world we live in now is not the world we lived in 100 years ago, because people like the first colonizers of the U.S. used the Bible
incorrectly
to take all this land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they thought they were right.
Yeah.
Right? They thought that they were using
the Bible and stuff.
Right?
Whatever.
So just like how during their time, they thought they were reading it right,
and interpreting it right.
Like I wouldn't even I would even say that we're interpreting the Bible from what we know now. Like, we only know the world that we live in, right? Even though we have all this history of how they lived 100, 200 years ago, we can't really be in their shoes.
Yeah.
We can only be in our shoes. And then in 200 years from now,
it's going to be different.
It's going to be a whole different world.
Yeah.
Where the Bible might still hold all of its truths and all of its teachings, but it just might be a little different because of the world that they live in, right?
Well, like, those things will be different, but like I said, you know, we find ourselves in the same situation. So, like, we kind of talked a little bit about the abortion stuff. So, like, it's still there. People sacrifice their children. They were killing them. And it's done a little bit differently. Yeah, like you said, it's a little different now, but the main core truth is still the same. And, like, you gave the example about the music. Like, you know, you could hear a song, I could hear a song, and we might have different interpretations, right? But at the end of the day, somebody wrote that song, and they wrote it with a purpose. So there is one true purpose. So it would be our job to try and find out, okay, what did you mean?
His true purpose.
Yeah. So so that's, I'm using that example for this.
But
So
when you can't ask that person,
yeah, you can.
What do you mean you can?
When you pray, you study, you get to, so. That's what I'm saying. Like it says that the Word became flesh. So in a sense, if you want to know God, He's right here.
Right.
But have you actually, like, when you want to meet a person, you actually talk to them, you hang out with them. Have you read this? Have you spent time with this? Because when you do, the more you do it, and it's a spiritual thing. I'm sure maybe people who don't believe in God, it'll sound crazy, but there's lots of people that will testify. You know, like,
And people believe in rocks now, bro.
They believe in the horoscopes and
They
everything.
believe in the horoscopes, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, like the more you spend time with God, you get to know who He is, His character. Those questions that you're saying, like, well, what does this mean? I can assure you, like, it will be revealed to you.
Right. I just think it's like there's stuff more modern that we still don't know if we're interpreting it correctly. You know what I mean? Like, for example, there's like, what's the name of that famous guy? He was like an actor, then he became a writer. He has like the most famous pieces in the world, and we don't even know if he even existed.
I don't know.
Shakespeare.
Oh.
Shakespeare. We can't verify he was a real person. Right? And that was like not so long ago. We can't verify that.
Really?
No, yeah, we can't verify he was a real
what?
person. Scholars now believe that Shakespeare was just a way. You know how in movies nowadays, well, not nowadays, but not so long ago in the beginning of movies, what was at the end of the movies?
The credits?
No, before the credits.
Oh, Fiend?
The end.
The end, yeah.
You know how it was the end?
Yeah.
That would be like, people are thinking like, in the future, people might think the end was the person who directed these movies. You know, because there was no credits to.
Okay,
so they're saying if that was just a handle.
So some guy called Shakespeare.
Or you know how nowadays in email, well, in emails now we have our names, right?
Yeah.
Where we're like, best regards, Estuardo, right?
Yeah.
But what if we just had like best regards, right?
Somebody would think.
Yeah, so some people think that Shakespeare was just the way things ended back in the day.
Yeah.
Right? We can't really prove that he was like 100% a real person.
Yeah.
But we have all these great like
works,
things about him, you know?
Yeah.
And this is, you know, something to throw out there, you know? That wasn't like so long ago, and we're still
debating.
And we still can't verify that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's also crazy that we could verify people like David.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we have like
people and most of this stuff is, how do we say it? Who was the person that killed Jesus?
Killed? Well, the Romans.
The one who stabbed him?
Was a Roman soldier.
Yeah.
To verify if he was dead. The one that's the guy that was in charge, Pontius Pilate.
Yeah, like we could verify.
Oh yeah, that guy was real.
We could actually verify that he's a real guy.
And the Jews have writings about that guy as well.
Yeah, we have actual
documentation
that this was a real guy.
Yeah. But
yeah, like in Shakespeare, like we can't, and that wasn't that long ago. And it's just the thing about history, you know, we can't really like. It's hard to say, you know.
Well, I mean, that's funny because I've seen this post that, you know, it says like that a lot of people like Plato or Aristotle or whatever, we only have a couple of their writings, like 4 or 5, 10, and we believe in them. Like, oh yeah, they were real. The Bible is like thousands and thousands, and they go date back, and when you match them up, like almost all of it, like, you know, it lines up. Yeah, you know, and stuff. So, which is funny. It's like, okay, you believe in this guy before Jesus, and we only have a couple of his writings. We have thousands of these, and like, but God, not God, you know. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this has been a good time, my brother.
Yeah,
it was good. I feel enlightened. I feel like I might be a prophet.
Yes, man.
Dude, my dream, bro.
One dream.
That's all it takes. One small step. You know, the journey to 1,000 steps starts with one single step. I don't know how it goes, but that's how it goes, right?
I think so. But
the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
But if that's true, then that means it's a big responsibility.
It's a big responsibility, guys.